Hello, everyone, and welcome to the July edition of the StackRox community meeting. I'm joined with my co-chair, co-leader, co-everything, Matthias Medinger, and I'm Mike Foster, and we both help lead the StackRox community. We have a short agenda, but packed agenda. We're going to be talking about the patch update, taking questions, talking about the roadmap video that will get released later this week, and announcing that our next meeting is on the 22nd of August. I'll reiterate at the end, but summer weeks are tough to plan around, a lot of vacations. So that'll be on August 22nd, the next meeting right before the 4.2 release. So we're looking to have more info for you then. Until then, 4.1 was out at the end of June. There has been a recent patch. I wanted to go to Matthias, my expert, and ask, what are people looking to expect out of those patches? What's going on? Hopefully you can give us an update.
So actually we have another patch in the pipeline right now that should be released in the very near future. And these patches together, because I'm basically wrapping these together, both of these address two rather important issues that we have, both of them surrounding the operator. So if you are using ACS or StackRox with the operator, you might want to check out these patches. So the first one revolves around the operator upgrade if you are using the kernel collection method for collector. If you use that on an older cluster or on an older version of ACS and then upgrade it, in recent ACS versions, and StackRox versions, we actually removed the kernel collection method, which leads to the unfortunate situation that our operator might try to upgrade you to a newest version and the pods don't spin up because they are missing the kernel collection method. If that happens, we do have a solution for that. The workaround is unfortunately a little bit involved. So we actually have a KCS article, so a knowledge base article for that. I have linked that in our StackRox community meeting notes. If you don't have access to them or don't know where they are, feel free to hit us up in the usual Slack channel. So on the CNCF Slack, the channel StackRox, feel free to ask either Foster or me. We can always provide you the link. The second issue revolved around the operator as well. So what happened there is if you are using the operator to deploy the product, the platform, and you deployed it originally with pod security policies enabled and then upgraded your cluster, same thing on cluster upgrade, pod security policies got removed from Kubernetes some versions ago, which might also leave you with an installation that doesn't want to spin up pods, because pod security policies are still part of the manifests. For that, there is actually a workaround that you can run on OpenShift clusters. Same thing here. I've linked that in the community meeting notes. If you don't know where to find them, feel free to ping us on Slack. It involves Helm MapCube APIs, which is a Helm plugin that you can use to remove things from our Helm manifests that hinder the upgrade. In this case, pod security policies, because they're not supported anymore. So these are the two main and important things. These are actually more downstream because we are still in the process of looking into running upstream with operator. That's also a thing that we as engineering are interested in doing, but it has proven a little bit complicated because of all the dependencies that our operator has. So it's still a work in progress. For upstream users, the patch update, or at least these two fixes out of the patch update, are not super important because they're most likely not running the operator. But besides that, please keep in mind, or always try to run on the latest version. That's a general recommendation that we can always give. We try to make the patch releases and general software releases as stable as possible. And we always recommend to run on the latest version because it includes all the fixes that you should have. And with that, let me give it back to Foster with some of the questions that we got since the last meeting.
Yeah, that's spot on. And tune into the community meetings because we did say that system, the kernel module was getting removed in the latest one. Also, Core BPF, I believe, is in tech preview, right? As a alternative to the BPF module. So
yes,
it's pretty cool. I got to upgrade and test it out, see what's different. Questions. Yeah. So there was 2 questions that I wanted to point out since our last meeting. I'm sorry if we don't necessarily get to it all the time in the Slack. Sometimes the questions are better if they're long form and discussed like this. The first one is, can StackRox generate an SBOM file or any way to track package information? Now we can track package information. We have the StackRox scanner, ACS scanner, which gives you all the vulnerability data as well as looks at the Docker file. It compiles you a list of all the packages that you've installed in the container. Now I'm assuming that this person that's asking wants a comparison or wants, an SBOM itself. I believe Red Hat's go-to is an SPDX SBOM generator. There's still some, let's say, hesitation in the open source world about if SBOMs are useful, who manages them, how are they created, how are they interpreted. So I know that we're building integrations into ACS in the future, and there is a roadmap item discussing it explicitly that you should be able to see on Thursday. So stay tuned for more information on that. I hope I did that one justice, Matthias. Anything you'd like to add?
I would like, yeah. So there is a slight, there is another angle I want to give at that, which is we do have scanning information for Docker images. So for any image that you're running on your cluster, we scan them, or you can scan them for vulnerabilities. So yes, we kind of are aware of which things are installed in a Docker image or available in a Docker image, because we use that to query for CVEs. We also, depending on the node OS, we also have a list of installed packages on the node system. This is very small in scale for now. There is plans to expand that at some time, but in general, we have more information about containers than we have about the nodes that you are running Kubernetes on. Again, this is about to change, or will change in the foreseeable future. But in general, we don't generate an SBOM as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah, and if you are writing and packaging your own code and looking to do SBOM on that, you're going to want to do a generator at the development level when you're pushing to GitHub or doing anything like that. I definitely think that there is a story there about the ingestion and comparison, right? But also signatures would help change that. If you're packaging your information and then signing it and then putting it into the cluster, we can always check to see if anything's changed. And so you should be able to create and manage the SBOMs yourself in your GitHub repo with the content or the code that you ship. And then you should be verifying that nothing's changing at runtime with ACS, which you can do today. Typically, that's how I would like to set up the workflow, right? If we're doing SBOM and we're trying to figure this out at production about what's in our container, I think we're a little behind. But yeah, very open-ended question. I know it didn't get discussion as much in the Slack channel, probably because I think it needs to be narrowed down a little bit, but I hope we answered that for you. And then on to the second one. I think this was Dane that added this along with a good thread, but does anyone import their StackRox data into BigQuery or anything else? Do you use a script, or have you made any specific processes? Now, Matthias, I know there was some chatter back and forth, some people using cron jobs, other people using the integration. Do you have any recommendations on best practice?
So best practice would generally be try to use our APIs as much as possible. These are stable and documented. Besides that, it depends on your use case. So for BigQuery, we don't have a specific integration, but for example, for Splunk, we do have even not only a specific integration, but also a technical add-on. So depending on which data sync you target, we have multiple options available for you. We also offer API or callback webhooks, or even in general push So even if you are interested in the audit logs, you can, for example, set up an audit log pusher out as an integration in StackRox or ACS to actively push out data to a target sink. But besides that, if you want to script something yourself, there is always the API available, and we take great care in engineering to actually base it around protobuf and auto-generated APIs as much as possible. So you should, even if you use a language that we not necessarily support officially, you should be able to relatively easily generate headers for that specific language you're interested in. That might be a more advanced task. So if you should be interested in that, I know I sound like a broken record, but feel free to ping us on Slack, because that might be a discussion that we might want to invest a little bit more time into and need a little bit more context from you depending on your use case.
Yeah, that gets good feedback. All right, on to probably the last important topic of the day. The StackRox/ACS public roadmap has been flushed out with some of the PMs and looking at the issues that have been created in the GitHub repository. Now, this is not, it'll be public on Thursday. I'm cutting the video right now, along with some slides. You know, if you go back and look at the other public roadmap that's on YouTube, which I'll post with it, you'll see all the progress that's been made. A lot of it due to feedback from the community. So thank you for that. And then we're looking for more feedback. So I'm hoping that when I publish this on Thursday, you can come in and say, hey, what about this feature? What about this feature? We want these things. And then add them to GitHub as issues, or even just in the Slack channel, we will try to bring them up. But that is my big ask from y'all. I think that would be awesome if we get some feedback. Remember, obviously, the roadmap is subject to change. There's always things that are in flux. And I'm hoping that we change it because we get some awesome ideas from the community. So again, look forward to that on Thursday. I got a new computer that luckily can process video a lot faster. So thankfully, I have a couple less headaches, and yeah, you'll see a post about that on Thursday. And then the last thing I want to wrap up with is the meeting on the 22nd of August. So 4.2 is slated for the second week in September. That is September 11th week. It's when it's slated for. And so August 22nd, after Matthias and I get back from vacation, we're going to give you an update, because hopefully we're in a code freeze by then. We can tell you everything that's going to be in the next release. We can talk about the exact date, hopefully, that's going to come out on. And then the next meeting in September will be back on track the week of the release. So come with all your questions, and hopefully it's a short and quick and informative meeting right after the release. Anything I missed, Matthias?
I don't think so. So remember, folks, the August meeting will be hopefully the last one in the foreseeable future that is out of our usual cadence. After that, we'll be resuming the second week, every second week of the month. So until then, folks, take care. It's been a pleasure, and see you in August.
See you then. Take care.